So today I would like to share with you 5 tips to help you if you are starting oil painting. These tips definitely helped me when I started oil painting in 2021, so I hope they will be helpful to you. Starting with number one. Number one is to start oil painting with only a few colors on your palette. Indeed, the fewer colors you have on your palette and the fewer interaction between these colors you will need to understand. The most important thing when we start oil painting is to understand our material and our pigment or our colors correctly. The faster we understand our material and the faster we can produce good painting. It's very important at the beginning to understand color mixing correctly, so the fewer colors on your palette you have and the faster you will understand how to mix your colors. As we know that we can achieve almost any color that we see in the real world with only 3 colors, the 3 primary colors, red, blue and yellow. Once we know that we don't need a lot of colors on our palette to mix any color that we see, with the exception of very saturated colors. So step by step, once you understand color mixing correctly, you can start to introduce new pigment on your color palette to reach the saturated color that you cannot reach without this tube of paint. So you don't have to limit yourself to only the 3 primary color. The way I started oil painting, I started with a split primary color palette. So you will end up with 6 colors plus white. You will have a warm and a cool version of each primary colors, and that's the way I started oil painting. You can check my video about my limited palette if you want to know exactly which colors I have on my palette, and let me know in the comment section if you want me to do a separate video on how to choose our colors when we start oil painting. Once you're ready and you chose your color, then you can start to make swatches to really understand the interaction between your pigments. So you can do different type of swatches and different shape of swatches. Here is a color chart exercise that I did, that I found in a book by Richard Schmidt. It's a very excellent exercise. This really show you and teaches you the interaction between your pigment, and you can do as well simple swatches like these ones. These ones are very nice and they are very useful in the studio when you need to refer to a certain pigment to see what's the result of this pigment on the surface. You can refer to these swatches at any time. So starting with only a few colors, we will have a lot of benefit, and especially when learning color mixing with only a few colors, it's way easier than with a lot of colors. A lot of colors on our palette often confuse us when we start oil painting. So it's better to start with only a few colors. That way we understand color mixing correctly, and then we can add more colors on our palette. Once you understand color mixing correctly, you enter a different world, and the painting process becomes way more enjoyable. Number two is good quality tools. Good quality tools are essential when we want to produce good paintings. Good quality tools, it's really a huge difference compared to the cheap tools that we can buy. Often these cheap tools, they will make more damage to our painting than anything else. So my advice, it's way better to invest an amount of money in a fewer tools, but good quality tools, than the same amount of money in a lot of tools that will not last long and that will give us a lot of issues and problems while we paint, and we take the risk to not enjoy the painting process and to not go back to painting because of these cheap tools. So really it's better to buy a fewer tools but from a good quality. This way you're also gonna develop a good habit since the start. Usually when we buy something that is a little more expensive, we have a tendency of taking care of this thing a little better than with the cheap things. So that way you can learn since the start to take good care of your tools, and that's gonna be very useful on the long run. And again, if you take good care of your tools that are a little more expensive but that are from a good quality, these tools can last you for a month or years. And I always recommend, in each video I talk about art supplies or anything like that, I always recommend to buy the supplies in an art supply store. It's very important to go in an art supply store. This is where you're gonna find supplies for professional artists. And basically, art supply store are not to be confused with craft store. Craft store is a total different thing, even though there is certain brands that you can find in both stores. This is really a different thing, so you really have to go in the art supply store to buy your supplies. I have a full playlist about starting oil painting, and in this playlist you can find a lot of videos that talk about specific supplies like brushes, palette knives, palette cups, etc. So you can check that out. Number three is start simple. At the beginning we have so much things to think about and to understand when we start oil painting. That is very important to start simple. So once you're ready, you have all your supplies, you have all your material, you're ready to paint. The way I did it, I set myself up in the studio correctly. I was super happy. And I chose some very simple subject to begin with. So I just chose simple shape, like a sphere, like a cube, like a pyramid. It's not necessary to go in complicated composition or complicated subject when we start oil painting. There's way too much thing that we need to understand and get used to at the beginning. The material already, the oil paint, the way the oil paint reacts. So all these things get simplified when we chose simple subject. And you will see in the end, even if these subjects are simple, they are not easy to paint. At the beginning, they appear to be easy, but the more you look at them and the more you see details, and basically the more you start to learn how to see and how to apply what you see on the surface. And this is very important. So you can start simple. You can even start with a value study, a black and white, just value study at the beginning. So you remove the weight of colors of your shoulder. If you want to paint in colors, there's no problem. I started personally with color directly, and you will see at the end that this simple subject make a very nice little painting, and they are very enjoyable to capture once you start to understand the light and the shadow, and you capture this on your surface. This is very enjoyable to do even with simple subject. And then step by step you start to make more complicated composition, and you start to change the subject. And we all have fruit in our house, so these remain simple subjects, simple shapes, but their texture, their color gets more complicated than just a sphere, a wooden sphere or a cube. So it's very enjoyable to go step by step and to see your progress. Number four. So number four is paint from life as much as possible. I have nothing against painting from photos or from reference picture, but as I did it for 20 years and now it's been around 4 years that I paint exclusively from life, I can really tell the difference. So the big difference between the two, it's in the learning progress. The learning progress that you do when you paint from life, it's amazing, it's unbelievable. It's really, there's nothing to compare. My suggestion is to really paint from life as much as possible, and anything that you learn when you paint from life, you can apply it when you go back to paint from picture. And you will see that when you go back to paint from picture, it actually appears very it's easier, it's way easier after having painted from life for many weeks or many months. Painting from life teaches you a lot. It teaches you how to see the world, how to see the subject that you want to capture, and that makes a whole difference in your painting process and in your final result. You're gonna learn how to see the values, you're gonna learn how to see the colors correctly. You will see that our brain tricks us a lot when we look at the world, and step by step, as artists, as painters, we learn to basically remove all this little trickery that our brain does, and we start to understand correctly or better what we are looking at, and then we can apply it on the surface better. So even if after you go back to paint from picture, this will be very, very beneficial. But you see, the other way around is not true. You can spend, like me, painting from picture, reference picture for 20 years, but then when you go to paint from life, it's almost if you have to start everything again. It's like you paint from the first time again. So everything you learn while painting from life, you can apply it when you paint from picture, but everything you learn from picture, it doesn't mean that it's going to be necessarily useful to you when you paint from life. And this is completely true. And you're going to be very happy with what you learn. It's going to be always helpful no matter which type of painting you are doing after. Number 5. So number 5, before giving you my last tip of the week, I would like to thank everybody that takes their time to like, comment, and share my videos. This is really helpful, especially for a small art channel like me. So please, if you like cultural content, if you like oil painting content or any content that has to do with painting, please share my video. This is really helpful to the channel. So thank you very much for everybody that takes their time to do so. So number five is to make a lot of starts. So at the beginning, the way I did it, I chose my subject to paint, and then I was painting every day, every single day, a new subject. I would sometimes paint 2 subjects per day, sometimes even 3 in the good days. But what is really important to understand that when you start, and this can be until a year of practice, when you start, what is really important to remove from our shoulder is the weight of the final painting. Really, at the beginning, the final painting doesn't matter at all. Then, what is important at the beginning is to understand our material, to get used to the material, to get used to applying the paint on the surface, to test all these things that we need to get used to at the beginning, and of course, learning color mixing correctly and learning to see the world. So all these things that we have to learn, this is so much that the final painting really doesn't matter. I think at the beginning it's a mistake to spend more than 3 days on a painting. Like I said, at the beginning I started a new painting every day. And so sometimes, of course, as the final painting, the final result, when we get something enjoyable or that we are happy with, of course, that's what makes us keep going. So there is no problem once in a while spending more time on one painting. But as a general idea and a general concept, we have to understand that the final painting, especially at the beginning, doesn't really matter, and that we have to push through and start making a lot of starts. That's what matters, because basically making a lot of starts, that's what's gonna shape your approach to painting. And that way you're gonna shape your approach to painting, you're gonna shape your method of painting. So there's not one method and one recipe that's gonna be always the same. What you need to do is practice how to solve problems, solve issues. That way, each time you're gonna paint, you're not gonna be anxious no more. You're gonna face a painting and know that you have some method to solve the issue that you see in front of you. And all this gonna help you basically paint. And the more you're gonna paint, the more you're gonna reach a level or skill that you're gonna feel yourself naturally, that now you can spend more time on a painting. When I was painting every day, I will finish a painting every day. And again, finishing a painting is not having a painting full of details or anything like that. Finishing a painting is just basically reaching a stage where the painting is readable. Once the painting reads correctly, it's good, you did your job, you can go to the next one. And of course, sometimes we want to put more attention, add a little more details on a painting, and that's completely fine. We also need to enjoy and have fun with the process. This is very important because this is what allows you to keep going even in the period of time where it's a little harder. But yeah, my advice is to really make a lot of start, and that's gonna definitely help you shaping your approach to painting. And this is how you're gonna be able to develop good habits. And once you're gonna be comfortable with what you're making, then you're gonna be able to start to spend more days and more time on a single painting. Well, this is it. We saw 5 tips today. I hope this is gonna be helpful to you. If you made it that far, it means you really wanna learn how to paint better. So I'm gonna give you an extra tip to thank you that you watch this video that far and that long. I wanna give you a sixth an extra tip. So my extra tip is basically, once you are ready with everything, once you are set up with everything, that you're ready to put these few weeks in of hard work. Once you did that, you put the few first week in. Once you reach 1, 2, 3 months, you stop everything, you step back, you lay down all the paintings that you made, you lay down on the desk, on the floor, and you really step back from them and you analyze everything. You analyze what worked, what didn't work. And then you take a day or two, you think of all this, you digest everything, and then boom, you go back, you put a few more weeks in, and after a few months, you do the same thing. You stop everything, you step back, and you analyze what you did good, what you didn't, where you made some progress, where you didn't. And then, according to what you want to achieve, you're gonna focus on certain area to improve. Don't get worried, we cannot improve all the area in the same time. If you succeed, well, congratulations. But if not, I did it by each time taking care of one specific area I wanted to improve, and I focused on that for a few weeks, and then I changed. And I also really wanted to enjoy the process. So you really choose what you like to progress on, and you learn these things specifically. And I hope this is gonna help. I hope this video is useful to you, and I hope this video is gonna help you produce better paintings. And if you like this type of content, well, please subscribe and welcome to the channel if you are new. I'm looking forward to see you in the next one.